Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot. I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
All right. Hey, Jeff.
High quality
you mixed
music in there.
What's that?
I said high quality music mixed in there.
I know you actually mixed the song in this time. It wasn't played. Again, as always, that our intro song was written and composed and recorded and perfected by Randy England at Randy England Music on Instagram. Give him a follow. So yeah, welcome to episode number 118 of Podcast Versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me, as always, is Jeff Newser. How you doing, Jeff?
Oh, it could be better if we would have played North Carolina State yesterday instead of, it would have been yesterday, right?
Yeah.
This is Wednesday.
Yep.
So it would have been Tuesday. Would have played North Carolina State, and alas.
Yeah, that's always a hard thing when your team falls out of a tournament or playoffs or whatever. Like, it's really hard to follow everything after. Like, it's kind of painful.
Totally. I have no idea. Did North Carolina State beat South Florida?
Yeah. I don't know. I assume so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I mean, I assume they did, but
I'm pretty sure they did. I think I saw that score.
Idea.
I've mostly followed the Pac-12 schools.
Yeah.
I watched UCLA had a rough game. They got down super early tonight and then just couldn't come back.
Yeah.
And Onion Wede fouled out with like 4 minutes left, so like their comeback attempt was over at that point. But yeah, so it's hard to follow. But man, that was such a bummer. So, just to be so close, really defensively. And rebounding, the Cougs did what they needed to do. I think ultimately they just didn't score enough. They really didn't hit enough shots because they got the turnovers mostly in check in the second half when they were able to come back. But really just weren't able to put enough points on the board because I think they did what they needed to do defensively. They held South Florida, who was averaging 40% offensive rebounding percentage on the year, or had come in with 40% offensive rebounding percentage, so they're grabbing 4 out of every 10 of their own misses. They were at 27% for that game. Cougs were almost equivalent to that. They were a little bit lower, but the rebounding was essentially even, and you're playing what came in as statistically one of the best rebounding schools in the country. So it was a bummer that, Charlize and the rest of them just couldn't hit enough shots. But I think there's some credit to South Florida. We talked about in the preview their really tough field goal defense, and they definitely forced a lot of tough shots.
They did, but I also, just like it felt like there was so much meat left on the bone there. Where you just feel like, gosh, if you just could have, finished some more shots inside or hit some of the open threes or whatever. Like it just felt like there was more there for them, to take. And, it's funny, like before I really started getting into watching the team, a lot, you were telling me, okay, yeah, they're good. And they got this, they got this 6th person off the bench, Sherilyn Molina. She's great. And she comes in, she's just real solid little spark plug, makes all these, like just makes the right play. And then, by the time I started watching them, she had left the team. And so, I didn't have a whole huge frame of reference for what she brought to the table. But when we did, the preview with Alyssa Charleston, you had shared, some of the efficiency stats with me from, herhoopstats.com, and her efficiency stats were great. And it was like, okay. And so as I'm watching them, I'm just kind of noticing like, man, they just don't have enough scoring. They just don't have like, it is, and I know we sort of hoped that, that Charlize Ledger-Walker would, like magically regain her legs, with a couple of weeks off, and that she'd be great, and the part of my brain knew that was sort of wishful thinking because, the recovery doesn't really take place until the off season. It doesn't really matter if you take a week or two off, you're still practicing, you're still, whatever. So,
yeah.
And she looked fine, but still not quite as, dynamic maybe as she was earlier in the year. And then also, playing a team that, very clearly, like everybody else, was, gearing up to stop her and make sure. I mean, they were running two people at her pretty much anytime she touched the ball. And Joanna Tadeo was able to, make some shots early to kind of make them pay a little bit. But, to South Florida's credit, they never really went away from it. They just kind of went, fine. If someone else is going to beat us, then someone else is going to beat us. And it worked out. They just don't have really enough people to score. I mean, Crystal doesn't score, Tadeo scores a bit. But
Crystal really, her scoring fell off quite a bit.
Yeah.
Halfway through the season. And when she's not, she shoots, I think like 60% of her shots from three. So if she's not hitting threes, which she hit one right off the bat, but then, didn't hit much the rest of the way. She's just not really a threat. And then Bella, she has had some nice scoring games, but we'll say she was huge defensively.
Yes.
She was a big reason why WSU had such a good defensive game, such a good rebounding game.
Yeah.
But yeah, they really, they're like quick bigs gave her trouble. They stripped her down. If she brought it down low, it was over.
She has a tendency to bring it down low, which is sort of frustrating. It's I know that a lot of, I think this happens in particular. I know it happens with boys, but I think it also happens a lot with girls. So, and as a tall person, like, oh, you're tall, you must play basketball. And it's like, with girls, especially tall girls, they sort of get, pushed into basketball a little bit. And maybe don't have, they get by on their height for quite a while and maybe don't have the passion for the game, but hey, I'm okay at it because I'm tall. Bella kind of strikes me as that kind of person. I don't know her personally. I don't, whatever. But when I see someone who looks, still pretty new to the game, pretty raw fundamentally, still does a lot of things that you would hope that a big would not do. The one thing that she does do well, so she does, she's good at being big defensively, good at being tall defensively. And then when she rebounds, she does an excellent job of holding the ball above her head and keeping it up there on defense. It's just on offense. She catches the ball and she gathers and the ball ends up around her knees. Yeah. The ball ends up around her knees and then it's like, oh shit, so anyway, she's still obviously a work in progress. Which is, and she's still young. She's a sophomore, right? So, she's still got a lot of time and a lot of room to grow. She's exciting, in that respect, but
quite a big step forward this year.
Yeah. So she's exciting in that respect. Just not enough in this game. Like a lot of people.
Yeah, they're really. I'm not sure anyone had their best game. I'd say Johanna Tadeo had a great game.
Yep.
But Charlize is definitely going to want to hit at a higher percentage, not turn the ball over 4 times. That's really uncharacteristic for her. She is a very low turnover player for how much she handles the ball. So even 4 turnovers for her is way more than usual. And just some of the shots weren't falling. Like she early in the season was automatic on these little pull-ups. She would pull up from between 10 and 15 feet on her drives, and I think she made 1 of those, and she probably took 4 of them. And those, seriously, early in the season, that was money. That shot, if she wasn't hitting anything else, she was hitting that shot. One thing she did do great is she realized they just needed points, especially in the second quarter, and she just bullied inside and got free throws. She ended up shooting 8 free throws and making them all, which is more free throws than she normally shoots. So she is just that type of scorer that's like, I got to get points. My shot's not falling. I'll do it some other way. And so she was pretty good about that, and truly that kept WSU in the game.
Yeah.
In the second quarter when USF just didn't want to miss. Like, that was really frustrating. Part of it,
that was the most irritating quarter.
Part of it was
so irritating.
Bella was on the bench. Emma Nankervis provided. I think you and I joked, like, if we could have had Emma's offensive game and Bella's defensive game and just in one person that game,
yeah,
they would have
we'd
won.
have a monster.
Yeah, Emma wasn't quite the defensive force inside. They got a couple easier buckets, but then they were also just hitting every damn shot. Like, it was just they just got hot. But by the end of the game,
they made 0 trips to the free throw line in the second.
Yeah.
Zero
Yeah.
free throw attempts. It was all jumpers all over the place, and like one putback where the shot missed so bad that it like banged off the backboard right into the hands of one of their players, and then she laid it back in. It was like they were just hitting everything, which was so insane and unexpected and tough to contend with.
For the game, their percentages weren't good and more aligned with what they usually do. But it just when you get that hit, and then WSU's left in the third quarter coming back, and that's when you lose your legs. Is when you have to come back from a deficit like that. And then you see in the fourth quarter, they just didn't really have much left. And I think they had 8 points in the fourth quarter. So even though they had a pretty good defensive quarter overall, just any bucket was brutal.
Right.
And any turnover, we can talk about the end of the game. Obviously, Crystal made a huge play to get WSU the ball with a chance to take the lead with 45 seconds left. And they ran this play that had been working for them to get Charlize the ball in space, where they'd basically run her off they'd run her off a screen and then have a screener, the big screen at the top for her. And she just had some indecision, you can tell. And Jeff, you obviously asked her about it.
Yeah.
After the game.
Yeah. I mean, she just basically said, I had a brain fart. She didn't use that term, but that was basically, I think she called it a mind blank is what she said, which I don't know.
Maybe they don't say brain fart in New Zealand.
Maybe they don't say brain farts in New Zealand. Maybe they say mind blank. I don't know, but that's what she said. It was, it's always hard asking those kinds of questions because, you feel bad for them. It's like, she, and I asked Etheridge about basically the same thing, like, trying to figure out how to nicely ask, like, hey, Charlize really screwed up there at the end of the game and, turned the ball over and missed a couple shots. And so, yeah, how about that? Like you got to figure out a way to ask that, in a way that is, that respects the work that they've done and, and honors all of that. You don't want to, you don't want to be an ass. And I don't think I was being an ass, so I'm trying to figure out a way to ask it that it doesn't sound like I'm being an ass. And, the way I put it to Etheridge was basically like, hey, any doubt in your mind, she's going to come back even stronger from this. And, the thing Etheridge said, and I think this is something that we saw all year, which she said, she has big shoulders. She just, she is not afraid to take the big shots, not afraid to have the ball in her hand in the big moments, not afraid to be the focal point. And, we talked about this with Isaac Bonton. Not every player can do that. Not every player is down for that. Not every player wants that kind of responsibility, and especially, with their teammates. And so when I asked her the question about it, I just kind of said, hey, basically what happened on that last play looked like they, maybe defended a little differently or something. And she actually was basically like, no, they defended it just like I expected. And I just, and you could see it in her face. Like she said, mind blank, but like looking at her face, she just was like, and she just, she got caught in between two minds and ended up, shuffling her feet on a very obvious travel. And I couldn't be mad at the ref about that one,
Yeah.
There was a lot of other stuff to be mad at the ref about, but I couldn't be mad about that one. So
yeah,
it's just the way it goes.
I thought we were getting like a heroic Charlize ending again.
That's what it felt like.
After Johanna hit a 3 and then Charlize they were down 5. Johanna hit a 3. Charlize hit a 3 to give them the lead with about 90 seconds left.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, like
this is it.
You've
This is
just
how we do it.
You've seen Charlize like lock in at the end of games and just like she could be missing all day and then just make everything at the end. But obviously she just didn't, after she did that, South Florida came down and scored. And then Charlize has the ball and she drives the basket, and I don't know how they don't call a foul. Like, honestly,
she got murdered.
Yeah, she got
clobbered.
Yeah,
like there's no, they blew the call. After calling it pretty tight up until that point.
Yeah, especially
and then they just sort of decide. Yeah, and then they just sort of decided, nope, not that one. And she got, she got killed. And again, what do you do? That game was extremely inconsistently officiated from start to finish. They blew a couple calls, a couple of out of bounds calls, one that was very obvious. The other one maybe a little less obvious. I'm not sure if that one, they didn't really show a good replay of it either. So it's possible that maybe they got that one right, but there was one they definitely got wrong. And, maybe one extra possession makes a difference, right? Like you just don't know. And whatever, you play a close game. I mean, this team showed all year and we talk about the role of luck and, randomness in our sports, and a lot of people are sort of reticent to, ascribe, luck, to their close performances. They want to believe their team has, winning mentality and stuff like that. And, people I think felt like that about this team and they definitely have guts and heart, they came back, but also, they had plenty of games this year that were coin flip type games that they won and plenty of games that were coin flip type games that they lost. And, because they tended to play those close coin flip games, they tended to
fall behind and have to come back.
And to have to claw back. And, so yeah, they, this was the coin flip that, went the wrong way.
But yeah, I'll say, the beer I chose to drink tonight is called Endless Ending, by Anchorage Brewing.
I love that.
This is, for them, they're so young.
Yeah.
And Charlize is coming back, and I mean, it's sometimes just because of the poise and just the skill and talent and strength that she plays with, you forget that she is 18 years old, and she is not at her peak. She's a super
not
hard worker,
remotely.
and she is a determined, ultra competitive elite athlete, and she's going to get better.
She's got that Klay Thompson thing, man.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's going to get better year by year. So you fully expect her to be better next year, probably shoot better. Because that's really her area. She could make more shots, and then if she's a better shooter, because she's got a perfect stroke. A lot of it boils down to, she takes a lot of difficult shots, but as you get better and stronger and older, you make more of those difficult shots. We saw that with Klay. And let's be honest, she was a much more dynamic player than Klay was as a freshman. She was the go-to person. And Klay was in terms of shots, but a lot of that was him being set up for shots. She is just a person that can dominate the ball, a great passer, a great defender. I've joked that she could be I don't think they would ever give it to a wing player at WSU, but she could be one of the best defensive players in the league already. And I could see her, if she just gets enough steals and adds some blocks, could be the defensive player of the year at some point if she stays all 4 years. I don't know how often women's players leave early for WNBA. I don't think it's very common. And plus with given her size, I don't think she's a automatic lock to get drafted early or anything.
Right.
But she definitely will be a professional WNBA player. But you talk about her. We talked about Bella. Bella has room to prove, and if they kick her in the butt and get her going, and you can see, because she's just one of those players she reminds me of young Casto and stuff, where she just makes amazing plays randomly. She had a couple buckets in a row in the third quarter, and you're okay, she might be getting going. And one was just a great post move against a double team.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, like Bella's got it. And she has those moves. She just kind of gets like, she can get into her own head a little bit, I think. And she's just doesn't have the consistency. And then I think Johanna Tedder got better and better as a
Yep.
like second scoring option throughout the
Yep.
season.
Yep.
And she could be a knockdown shooter next year. She's starting to develop more and more that off the dribble shot. If she can extend that to get into the lane, because she's strong too, like Charlize. Like she's a strong player. She guards a lot of fours quite often, or threes and fours. So she's a strong player. And we don't know if Crystal's coming back. She, again, like we always think like, oh, they've reached their peaks as seniors, but like players in professional ball usually reach their peak when they're like 28.
Right.
So if Crystal wants to come back, I think that's a positive.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, because otherwise, like, there's a good core here, but like when you mentioned with Sherilyn, like there just isn't. Once they lost her, like the problem with depth was obvious, and
Yep.
so they're going to need to either develop, Michaela Jones or Grace Sarver a little more, or someone else on the bench into something, somebody that can kind of take that sixth person role, that Sherilyn Molina role off the bench, and even another one, because like we cannot have Charlize, and if Crystal's back, them playing 37, 38 to 40 minutes a game. Like that's, we saw this year that is not sustainable for Charlize, like
No.
especially a player that uses as many possessions as she does. Like
Yep.
you're going to need her, because, she just wasn't getting breaks down the stretch. As you mentioned to me, she played 40 minutes against USF.
Yeah.
And 40 tough minutes.
Yeah.
She defends.
Just
like she
couldn't take her off the floor.
As Alyssa Charleston said last week, like we play mostly man. So Charlize is defending her butt off. Charlize has guarded the 5 before. Like they have her. They have had her play the 5, played small, especially when Sherilyn was playing. They would go with like basically 5 guard lineup, and like Charlize would defend the 5. Like she defends her butt off, and so she's tired by the end of the game. She needs to play 34 minutes. Like it'd be great if she could play 34 minutes and not 38 minutes. And so, but you need some. So I don't know. You kind of asked Cammie a little bit about, or you heard her talk about. I can't remember if you asked about what they think about next year. So what's kind of your feeling about, are they going to add people, or because they don't have a lot of room to add people right now, especially if Crystal comes back. So like, can they work with what they got, or do you think they might be looking to add someone?
So Etheridge definitely made it sound like they're looking to add people. She basically kept saying, I think it was in response to a question about, again, about Charlize and about, just how good she is. And Etheridge kind of said in a couple of different ways, hey, it's our responsibility as a coaching staff to surround her with players who can play, and that's our goal, and that's our job. And she definitely kept saying it in a way to sort of heavily hint at like we need more players. And then she kind of said as an afterthought, well, and we also need to develop the ones that we have. And I was like, oh, oops. It's like she kind of remembered, wait a second, I have, you talk to a coach right after a game like this, and I'm sure the things that were, painfully obvious to us were painfully obvious to her. And that's just that there's just not enough scoring. Like they need some more players who can score. At least one, probably 2, players who can score if they really want to do this. And, something you said, I think is really relevant here. Like when you get a generational player, you want to do, as a coach, everything in your power to not squander that player. A Charlize only comes along every so often. A Klay Thompson only, if you're Washington State, only comes along every so often, like once in a generation, really. Mm-hmm. And so you go, all right, well, how are we going to make sure not to squander this, once in a generation player? And, so I'd be I'd be pretty surprised if there's not some pretty significant movement with the roster. I'd assume, and again, no inside knowledge at all, just kind of reading the tea leaves, looking at the roster, looking at the way they play, and then just kind of listening to her talk. Definitely seems like, maybe the transfer market, is something they're going to hit up. I honestly do not know how active that market is in women's basketball versus men's basketball.
Obviously that's how they got Crystal. Yeah.
Yeah. But that one was, she followed her from
basically,
from Northern Colorado. So, the men's transfer market obviously is, full of, it's got 1,000 guys in it or whatever. So, there's lots of people in there. I don't know if the women's game is the same, but I definitely imagine WSU is going to be looking to add, maybe a couple of people who can sort of improve the team instantly. And they've got a pretty good sell job. It's a program that just went to the tournament. They've got a young star, come here and play with our young star and play in the toughest conference in the country and go to the tournament.
You can go 9-10. You go to the tournament.
You can go 9-10 and go to the tournament. So yeah, that'd be my guess. I'd expect that they would be looking to add at least one, maybe two impact players, because they need it. They really do need it. And, it's unfortunate. And maybe there are people on the team that can develop, that didn't play in that game much, but, by the end of the season, man, the rotation was like 6, and that's as telling as anything. She got to the end of the season and just didn't trust anybody past about 6 or 7. And that speaks volumes.
Yeah,
from a coach's perspective.
You'd see Grace Sarver play some spot minutes, and you'd see Emma Nankervis come in when Bella got in foul trouble, and that was
And Bella didn't get in foul trouble in this game, so she played most of the game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so one thing you mentioned, it was a big deal for them to, I had thought about this all year. They got to get to the tournament this year because it just kind of sets that precedence and establishes you as a relevant program, something they've never been before. I talked to B. I'm putting together a piece. I'm working with it a few different ways around a turnaround year. That this is it reminds me in some ways of the the Bennett year in 06-07. Where they were picked 12th. That was a little different. They had a lot of returning players. There wasn't like one random impact player that came in. They this team, they were picked 12th because they lost their 2 best players from last year's team, and that was still not a great team. They won 4 games in league play, and then they lost their all-time leading scorer and their point guard, who may have been an even better player than the all-time leading scorer. So in Chanel Molina and Bobby. But yeah, it was so huge for them to get to the tournament this year. In women's basketball especially, there's a lot of haves and there's some haves and a lot of have-nots. And I heard it talked about multiple times today on, I follow some various women's basketball accounts and just the discussion today is about, how the women's basketball tournament TV deal is just lumped in with every other sports tournament that's not men's basketball. Right. So they essentially get $35 million for the tournament, while the men's tournament makes $1.6 billion, and we'll talk a little bit about that money on the men's side a little bit. But so there's not money for programs that are historically poor to invest. So you kind of have to have these coaching staffs, like Cami Etheridge's staff, that works their ass off to get player, to get a player like Charlize Ledger Walker, who they had to fend off some programs at the end. Obviously, she's from New Zealand, so she wasn't as known as players in the U.S., but she's a legend in New Zealand already. And as we clearly see, she's an elite player. But so we needed that, but now we have her, and she's just going to be a sophomore, a freshman by eligibility. And it's so big to have gone to the tournament to show that you can do that. Because you saw, like, we saw the program after Tony left, and with, like, we had the best player in school history and didn't go to a tournament on the men's side.
Yep.
And so it's no guarantee. So it was so huge for them to do just enough to beat some elite teams, like, just to get this far. And that's why I was so stressed out, when they kind of finished on not on a great note. They got just enough wins. Obviously they beat the teams they needed to at the end. But it got real stressful in that 4-game losing streak. Like, if they're an NIT team, we've done that before. We've been that program. They went to the NIT semifinals like 3 years ago. Like, we've done, or 4 years ago, we've done that. So, like, just to do that again, you kind of feel like, okay, yeah, this is the ceiling of the program. But now we know there's a new ceiling for the program. The program can go to an NCAA tournament and not just be, like, barely in. They were a 9 seed. They were, like, pretty securely in. They're among the top 40 teams in the country. Like, so just to do that, like you said, that probably gives Cammie and her staff just that little nugget with, if they want to bring in any players, and also pushing the players that they have, like, just a little bit farther. Like, we can do this. We can be a good team. Because honestly, if Sherilyn didn't leave the team, they could have been a 6 seed. Like, because if they get a couple more wins, like, if they beat Arizona State on the road, if they beat USC at home, they could end up being a 6 or a 7 seed, playing a much easier team. Because honestly, that South Florida team, they could have been a 6 seed. Like, that was a really hard 8 seed. Like, and they were very talented. The only thing is they just weren't big, but they were very talented. They had a lot of scorers, a lot of players that were tough to guard. They played great defense. Like, they were a very good team. Probably just got hit by the fact they didn't play a tough schedule. But so instead of playing, instead of being the 6 or 7 seed, you're playing a team that could be a 6 or 7 seed. And that just makes it a little bit tougher. So, yeah, if they're that 6 seed, we're probably talking about them having won and maybe even won a second round game, because then they're playing a 3 seed, because we just saw, we saw UCLA as a 3 seed lose to Texas. Like, so this is, UCLA is the type of team that's a 3 seed. They beat that team. So they could have beat a team like that. So just they were that close, like, to something even better this season. And it just shows, like, one player how much difference that would have made. I mean, we saw one player broadly, what Charlize, how much of a difference she made. Obviously Crystal as well, and the improvement from some others. But if you get Crystal and you have the improvement from Bella and Johanna Johanna stepping in, this is definitely not, like, they're not that close to a tournament team as Charlize came in. But even one, efficient player off the bench is so huge. And so it's just, if they can get those 1 or 2 more players, and if Cammie she can now sell it that we are an NCAA tournament team and we're going to go do it again. Come with us, come do this with us, help us get deeper into the tournament, help us be a Sweet 16 team. Let's get deeper. And so it was just so huge for them to make this step. And it was so exciting to follow them this year. And I'm super stoked, because really, like, when I talk about a turnaround year, it's not just the team, the program, it's like the fans. Like, how many people are aware of the women's basketball team now? When I was at school, they were a joke. Like, they would lose every game by 40 points. I'm sorry if anyone who played on that team is listening. But like, Kate Benz, great rebounder. I remember you're a very great person as well, but like, you guys got your butts kicked like regularly. And that was just kind of what it was. And then June came in, made the program, respectable. And we've talked about that. They go to NITs, they beat good teams sometimes, and so they were respectable. But now you bring in Cammie and you bring in Charlize, and now you're a team. You bursted through that ceiling. Got that tournament you haven't done in 30 years. You got to a place that literally no one outside of yourselves thought you could get to, and it's huge. And I'm excited, and I just hope that they're able to. Kind of either, maybe some of those players off the bench step up, and maybe we get enough improvement from Bella and whoever else, like to make that jump. But if not, like, it'd be great if they could, get some scoring help for Charlize and the rest of the team. Like, because like I said over and over again, like we took one player away and it made a huge difference. And so adding one player again would make a huge difference.
Yep. And that's the fun part, is that this is not, the culminate, like when you're a senior laden team and you barely squeak into the tournament, like that feels different than what this is, which is, number one, they didn't barely squeak into the tournament. Number two, they're young, like they're super young. They got lots of players that could potentially get lots better. So yeah, very exciting to see a program that appears to be on the rise. Cami Etheridge appears to be an excellent coach. Like a lot of Pat Chun's hires, seems to be perfect for Pullman. It was kind of fun. I'll be, perfectly honest and transparent. I was not aware really of her history as a player. Particularly, just like all the, the things she accomplished at Texas, the undefeated team, all that stuff. I just didn't know, so, it was cool to learn all that. And, for somebody who, essentially, came of age as really kind of as college basketball royalty. But to see the way that she goes about her business at Wazoo and having come up, it's not like, anything was ever handed to her. I mean, she came up through, Northern Colorado and, she's tough as nails. You get the sense that's the kind of player she was. You get the sense that that's what she demands out of her team, and that ethos really comes through, and that makes them really easy to root for as a Cougar fan. We love our teams being like that. The Bennetts were like that when they coached us. Kyle Smith's teams obviously are like that. Tough. And they fight. They scrap. And, that makes this team a team that you can grow with and appreciate. And, so like when next year rolls around and the season's starting, I'm going to be like, yeah, I already know all these players for the most part. Which is cool. You can start to, it kind of reminds me of, of that 07-08 season, with Bennett where, you'd kind of met all these guys the year before when they burst onto the scene, and then everybody was back, except for Ivory Clark. Right. So, this team's, I think, going to be a lot like that. And, it's exciting. It's exciting, man. We talk a lot about how this is sort of seems to be a golden age for Cougar athletics, but man, it really is. I mean, everybody's good, which is weird. That doesn't normally happen.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I'll give a shout out. This is not like an ad or anything, but I've been desperately seeking any sort of gear that referenced this team. I couldn't find like any March Madness like official gear with Washington State just on the branding or something, which is kind of frustrating. But College Hill, the company that runs Coug Store, they're selling. They made some merchandise, a couple sweatshirts, a couple T-shirts that you can choose from, with like various quality of fabric and things like that. So you can come in at like a lower price point or get a little more nicer thing, like a Nike Dry Fit or just like a kind of off-brand shirt, whatever you want. But the cool thing about it is, so it's College Hill Threads, I think, what they go by. So they have like a landing page for this, and you can buy that stuff, but what they're donating 30% of the proceeds back to the women's basketball program specifically. Which I'm guessing the women's basketball program does not get very many specific donations. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was cool. This is not an ad. I just really like that company. They're Coug owned and Coug run, and they make a lot of cool Coug stuff. And so I buy a few things from them and get a lot of gifts from them and stuff. So I think that's a cool thing that they're doing. So you can get like something that says like women's basketball. They can't like put March Madness or the NCAA tournament or anything like that on there. Like they're not really allowed to.
Goodness, no.
Yeah.
Well, besides, we also learned this week that March Madness actually only applies to the men's tournament.
Yeah.
And not the women's. So.
Yeah. Well, for them, fuck that. I'll still call it March Madness.
That's right. Yeah, I mean it's kind of a bummer. You know, you would hope that the athletic department, that Nike would have something. You know, if the men's team was in the tournament, there'd be something. But
yeah, it's really frustrating. I will
very
say,
frustrating.
And Jeff, you're going to be jealous. I scored. I found it off a like a vintage website just randomly while I was looking for. I was just searching anywhere where I could find NCAA tournament apparel for the women. But I scored off this like vintage site. I found a 2008 NCAA tournament shirt for the Cougs. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it's like unworn. It's like they said it was like dead stock. It was from Pullman, so maybe someone just found it in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it's like brand new. I'm pretty stoked.
That's amazing.
There was only one. Sorry, it's sold. I bought it before I told anyone because it's mine. So yeah, just anything like that would be great as well. Because I'm pretty fired up about this. You know, the same company, Kook Store, they made a shirt for the College Cup as well. So they're like, and no one else did that. I recommend following them. They make really great. Yeah. They make some of the best like bowl shirts when WC goes to bowl games because those can be pretty damn ugly. And they do some pretty fun ones. The Cheez-It Bowl one is my favorite one because it has like Cheez-Its on it. But yeah, so yeah, and they're donating 30% back. So I think that's super cool. They didn't have to do that. I would have bought it if they were taking all the money, honestly. So good for them. Seriously, I'm really glad we didn't do this podcast like right after the game because I would have been like crying and maybe a little angry. I've been able to reflect a little more on the season. If we would have done this, we were only going to do it right away if they won because everyone wants to hear that glee, but we needed a few days to cool off.
The instant reaction depression is not quite as
no.
People aren't looking forward to that in quite the same way. So
yeah, we do those football recaps even just the next day, and sometimes those can be pretty bad.
Yep.
That UCLA one is quite legendary. Also one of our most popular episodes ever somehow. You guys are weird. You're all weird. Like, you just love hurting yourselves, I guess.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. But yeah, Jeff, I guess...
break time?
Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. There we go.
Okay.
No. Oh, you know how I have trouble with this and everything all the time. Whatever. I'm not doing the to break music because it's all messed up and connected to my headphones again, and I don't want to fix it. But
and we're back.
Sorry, Randy. Sorry.
Good work, buddy.
I guess you could put it in if you want.
I could, but I'm not going to.
Nah, you're already doing the intro and the exit music, so I'm proud of you for that.
We're adding little bits as we go.
We're becoming more and more professional.
I can't bite off too much at once. So,
all right, Jeff, what are you drinking?
Well, I should have said this like you did, like while I was doing the doing the analysis. This is the Matchless Hazy Expectations. And I was like, oh, that would have fit right in with the roster forecast and all that stuff. But yeah, pretty typical hazy beer. So it's good though. I like the can. It's got like kind of this baby blue and pink kind of thing going on. So it's I like it. It's good looking can, good tasting beer. Did you know that it's made with Simcoe Centennial and Amarillo hops, Craig?
As many hazy beers are.
Did you know that?
I will say that probably gives off more of like an old school vibe than like kind of it's probably not as like citrusy and fruity.
And it definitely has a little bit more of the bitter finish on the end.
Yeah.
So, yep. Really good. I like it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I am, as I said, I'm having Anchorage Endless Ending, and I think I may have had this beer. I can't even remember. I think I've definitely considered it before, but it is a blend of two amazing beers from Anchorage. One called Darkest Hour, barrel aged imperial stout, and then also blended with A Deal with the Devil. They're incredible barley wine, and then it was aged in 18 months in Woodford Reserve double oak barrels. Just an amazing. So it's a blend of a barley wine and a stout. I have it in a barley wine glass because it's in my barley wine is life glass because it's pretty barley wine is life. But it's amazing. It's got like kind of like chocolate notes from the stout. You get some like toffee notes from the barley wine. You get so kind of like a Heath Bar vibe kind of going on, and then you got it's just so thick and sweet. Definitely a hangover inducer, but delicious. It does not wear its 15% alcohol very much. Like, it's very easy to drink. It is a delicious beer, and it was very expensive, and I bought way too many of them, but now I get to drink them. But yeah, Anchorage Brewing, Endless Ending, and the other beers that are blended into it, all incredible beers. Anchorage Brewing, incredible brewery. Highly recommend getting on up to Anchorage and checking them out.
Let me get on that. Let me head right up to Alaska.
Yeah. Hey,
right
it's
now.
like a 3.5 hour flight to Anchorage. Come on, get up on it.
Yeah. Very inexpensive too.
Yeah. Oh, it actually is not that expensive to fly there. To
Really?
Anchorage, yeah.
Every time we've looked, it's not been very
Oh, really? Yeah.
cheap.
Well, we went like 4th of July once, and it was not that bad. I don't know.
Well, maybe people don't want to go there in July. I don't know.
I don't know. It was pretty nice to me. You know what else has been nice for me?
What's that, Craig?
Watching WSU shoot up these KenPom rankings while not even playing.
It's so great. Like, all year long, we obsessed. Are we going to get in the top 100? Are we going to get in the top one? We were like, it's like this magical. I mean, look, we're both numbers guys. We love numbers. And we both also recognize that, 100 is a very stupid, arbitrary number. Like, it's like there's nothing special about 100. It's just a round number. That's fine. And our monkey brains love, round numbers. But it's like, we definitely spent all year thinking, okay, are we going to, maybe we'll get in the top 100 or almost there. And we were kind of, at times we'd kind of hover right around that 100. And then, we ended up just on the wrong side of 100 at the end of the year. And we both went, alas, just on the wrong side of 100.
Well, yeah, we talked to John on Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, you improved 20 spots to 107. Yeah. Pretty good. That's pretty good. You lost CJ Ellaby. You still improved 20 spots. Way to go. And then.
Good job.
And then.
Little did we know, all we needed to get into the top 100 is just wait for the NCAA tournament to start.
Good Lord.
We are up. What are we up to, Craig? 84?
84. We peaked at 83 in between. We jumped
UCLA, 20 spots without playing.
Yeah, in between UCLA winning and Oregon Colorado losing. We were for 83 at a brief moment. Yeah. This is one of the things where KenPom capping his margin of victory is hurting us because the Pac-12 teams have just been destroying people. You know, like, oh my God, USC over Kansas. That was ridiculous. That was one of the most absurd things you will ever see in the NCAA tournament. That was absurd.
No doubt.
Why don't
you explain how it's possible to move, like how that happens, how a team moves
23 spots.
Yeah. How do you move 23 spots without playing?
Well, so a lot of what KenPom's ratings are built on their adjusted efficiency margin. And so you take your efficiency on offense and your efficiency on defense, and then they're adjusted for your schedule. So the strength of the teams that you're playing. So basically what has happened is the strength of the teams that WSU played, and a lot of these teams, teams they played twice. So you're getting like double impact there. Teams that were kind of close to them, you get more impact for that. their strength of schedule has just shot up. Like, because all of these other teams, so we've seen Oregon State, since the start of the Pac-12 tournament, has moved. They started the Pac-12 tournament at 103, and they're currently sitting at number 49. So you're looking at that win, and Jeff, as you reminded me, the wins, the games that are closer are weighted more. So as KenPom says, like maybe by the end of the season, the early games are weighted about 40% as much as the bigger game or the most recent games. But still, those two games against Oregon State are now against a number 49 team versus a team with 14, almost a plus 15 on efficiency margin over the course, beating teams by 15 points, an average team by 15 points over the course of 100 possessions, versus they were probably somewhere close to around, probably closer to around like 7 or 8 points. So they basically doubled their quality. And so they're sitting on your schedule. They've doubled their quality. USC has went from, by, just blowing people out, has went from, they started the tournament 11th and they're now 6th. You have Oregon, or also UCLA, they just popped up. So they started the tournament 45th and they're now 22nd. You played them twice. That's the 22nd.
And beat them once.
And beat them once. That helps. Obviously it is. So all these teams rising, it's a cumulative effect, because as the Pac-12 wins, as that team itself gets raises, it raises everyone else in the Pac-12. So as Oregon State and UCLA and USC and Oregon are winning, in Colorado the first round are winning, they're just bringing each other up in their ratings, and that in turn, you've seen UW has shot up a lot, Cal has shot up a lot, like everyone, even that isn't in the tournament. Arizona State is a top 100 team now. They were like around 115 before the start of the tournament. So everyone's taking these huge jumps, and it's been wild to watch. I've never, and the Pac-12 as a whole. So the Pac-12 just as a whole was coming into the tournament was the 6th rated conference in average efficiency adjusted efficiency margin. They are now 3rd, and they are clearly in 3rd and much closer to 2nd than to 3rd, much closer to the Big 12. Thank you, USC, for destroying Kansas. Much closer to the Big 12 than they are to the 4th place SEC.
And Oregon State destroying Oklahoma State.
Yes, of course.
Like that was the other demolition for the Big 12. So yeah, it's utterly, I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. And not that I have paid super close attention to these kinds of movements for teams outside of Wazoo over the years. So maybe something like.
But I can't even think of any one conference having such an unexpectedly good run.
That's the issue. Like they were unexpected, and they're winning games, and they are demolishing people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And so like there's obviously a big, right now, was the Pac-12 underrated? Was, are all these teams underseeded? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, I think, okay, yes, it's pretty obvious the answer is yes. The Pac-12 was underrated. And as you and I know well, in college basketball, narratives get set early. I mean, it happens in football too. It's not unique just to college basketball. It's basketball, football, whatever, because you play your non-conference games are your only reference point for quality between conferences.
Right.
And so you play those games in November. And as we know this year, like, okay, games in November are especially irrelevant. Right? Like teams, didn't really practice over the summer.
We talk about Oregon State, right? Like they had COVID issues at the start of the season.
And a ton of transfers.
Yeah, that's really like, we know if you watch enough college basketball, you understand that a lot of transfers take a while to impact their team. Like not very few are amazing right off the bat. And so, especially like, guys like Warith Alatishe, who are coming from a much weaker conference, they have to adjust to the speed and the strength of this conference. And he obviously has adjusted very well because he's an incredibly athletic player. But yeah, Oregon State has been super impressive. And their narrative you can write because obviously they're getting hot at the right time. There's a lot of that going on, but they were just kind of one of those teams that was gonna take a while to be at their best because of the nature of so many new players and because they at the very start of the season had COVID issues, so they didn't get a practice, and that happened with a lot of these. And you could probably say that for a lot of these West Coast teams. The Pac-12 has like stricter COVID policies than some other leagues, and it's harder. We've probably had more players miss practice and things like that, just because they're a little more cautious here, and maybe that was impacting them in the non-conference schedule. And now these teams are all at full strength. Oregon in particular, they're at full strength versus obviously they lost a huge player at the start of the year, but he was never coming back. But, they're at full strength as much as they can be. USC, they missed a few guys. Their guard, their point guard, the kind of bullish looking linebacker dude. Again,
yep.
He missed a big
Ethan Anderson, right?
Ethan Anderson, yeah, he missed a big chunk of the early of the season, and now he's back, and he is he's a starter, and he plays a lot. He allows Tajidi to play off the ball, which has been huge for him. It's just all these teams kind of have these narratives of they just started slow, and with USC it's just they were kind of just, they have so many scorers, and I think kind of they're just hitting like Jaquez and Juzang are kind of hitting at the right time.
Yeah. So, I always hate, I think it's ridiculous the way they have these, is such and such conference overrated, whatever, man. I just don't think it's that relevant, in the sense that to have the conversation now, it's like the Pac-12 doesn't get any extra benefit from, people declaring them better than they were. Right. But it's at some point, the conference has to do something, to improve its standing. I don't know if I really do. The one thing I guess I wish is that, that the non-conference season would be split in two so that maybe you play, a couple few weeks of non-conference games, and then you get on with the conference season, and then somewhere around, the end of January, so you start playing conference games like beginning of December, and then, I don't know, beginning of February hits, end of January, something like that. Take a couple weeks and play some non-conference games. Have some of these tournaments. Have just some stuff where we have some crossover with some other conferences, because you get to a point, and I think this is the other part with, Pomeroy's algorithm is, the same teams play the same teams over and over and over again. And then at some point, some new data point gets entered into the mix, and, one conference, a bunch of teams from the same conference end up, destroying, and then that's how you get WSU moving on up, because all these teams that they played are suddenly making big moves from destroying these other highly regarded teams, and there's a lot of volatility there. Well, ideally, you wouldn't want that kind of volatility, right? Like you'd want there to be some more reference points, some more data points where, if you're going to be seeding teams, instead of seeding teams based off of whether they won or lost the Maui Invitational,
right.
And I keep hearing people saying, well, as I'm just kind of watching on Twitter, I'm seeing people say things like, well, are you trying to tell me, Cal is good and Washington's good? And I'm like, no, they fucking suck. But it also, maybe they don't suck as bad as we thought, right? Maybe these teams are better than we thought. Maybe that we, didn't necessarily give them the credit they deserve. People are like, well, I watched USC and UCLA and, I watched them all season and they never looked like this. It's like, well, because maybe they were playing some good, okay fucking teams. Like maybe they didn't look as good because Washington State's better than you think. Like, maybe they didn't look as good because Cal is better than you. Like, I'm just like, Colorado, you saw that loss to Washington. It's like, well, okay. But Washington's, like, loaded with 4-star guys. Yeah, on the whole, they weren't good. But, I mean, come on. They got talent. So anyway, I think that, the Pac-12 really gets, just kind of unfairly shit on most of the time based on perception. Based on reputation, which, of course, the conference does not do much to help itself with. I think that's part of the issue. And hopefully, since you figure, most of these teams will be reasonably intact heading into next year, that the conference can maybe get, a little more love out of the gate, because it really does. It's really a narrative thing. And once that narrative gets set, especially when you've got humans making the selections for the tournament, you've really, those humans need to think that your conference doesn't suck. I mean, we saw what happened with the women when they don't think that your conference sucks. If they think your conference is really good, then your conference is really good, and you can go, you can have a losing record in conference and still make it into the tournament. So,
well, yeah, we saw when, like 2008, we saw like 9-9, 8-10. I think a 9-9 team definitely, because the Pac-10 had 7 teams that year in the tournament, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6. I thought there were 7, but Arizona made it, and it's going 8-10 that year.
Yep.
So yeah, you get that perception. Obviously, Pac-12's looking way better on their KenPom rankings now that we look at. If you just look at the distribution of the teams, you have that. Now, it's like all year, it's like, oh, they don't have that top team. Or maybe we had a couple of them.
Yeah.
And like
maybe.
you said, maybe they lost to teams because the teams were good. Like, if USC loses to Oregon State on the road, I don't think they did, but like, just as example, or to Utah on the road or something, that's someone losing to a top 50 team on the road. Like, suddenly that doesn't look bad anymore. But everyone wants it's the same damn narrative in football. Like, it's always the same thing. If you don't have a team that is beating everyone, they assume that your conference is bad, and it's stupid. Now we have a team like where 10 of the 12 teams are in the top 90 of KenPom, which is that's pretty normal for a good conference. And then the worst team is 139 in Washington. That's not that bad. We've seen good pack, and that's part of the reason why you don't have a team that runs through when you don't have those really bad teams that are offering 4 wins to every, like 2 teams at the bottom. There's like 4 free wins to everyone. So you can't just stack up those wins. Yeah. And so it's so frustrating, but like, it's pretty cool to see some redemption. They're obviously going to have at least one team in the Elite Eight because, annoyingly, Oregon and USC can play each other in the Sweet 16 because they only played each other once during the season.
Yeah. And that, by the way, that is not unfair seeding, having these 2 teams meet, early, meet in the Sweet 16. It just sort of is what it is. You got that many teams in the tournament. There's a chance that somebody's going to meet up. It's not a big deal. They do try to, if you've already played a team, I think 3 times, they make sure you can't meet until the regional final, but that didn't happen with USC and Oregon. So, but the real storyline here, Craig, which we haven't touched on yet, is that we are now, rolling in money because of all of this.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. I think the last count from Wilner is, the conference says because of the win shares that so you get, they assign money to the conferences based on the number of win shares or units. So if your team is, you get your 5 for the number of teams in the conference, but when they advance to another slot, you add another. So they're up to, I can't remember how many units it is now. I guess I could do the math because so UCLA has 3 wins, right? And then
UCLA's got 3.
Colorado had a win.
Colorado
that's
had
4.
1.
And then you have
and then
2
the other
from,
3 had 2 wins.
So that's 10, what are we at now? 10. So 15. We're at 15 shares, 15 units. So like Wilner said that was it's close to 30. His estimate, John Wilner of the Mercury News, close to $30 million that the conference is going to get. And of course, we split that equally. So that's WSU over the course of 6 years. We'll get 30 divided by 12 is $2.5 million roughly. If no one, and they're going to get more because at least one more team is going to win.
Yeah, they'll get at least one more win.
And so you're talking like $2.5 million. So that's $400,000 plus a little more every year for the next 6 years. You would obviously have expected to get some of those units. They probably expect at least like 4 units every year in the Pac-12. They've only gotten like 3 before, but but so it's not like we kind of talked about this on the slide. Like, are those? Does the athletic department already budget some of those? I'm guessing they don't budget this many units.
You would think they don't.
So you're talking about several $100,000 a year extra coming into WSU's program because a bunch of other teams are winning tournament games is pretty fucking great. Like, it's way fun when UW is not the one doing that because you can just root for all the teams. Like I root, and I told you, I said this to you, Jeff. It's like my little baby birds are out soaring because I've spent so much time previewing, so many words previewing and learning about all these players on all these teams. And then when I see Johnny Juzang like drop 27 or whatever, and I see Evan Mobley destroy Kansas, and then I see Isaiah Mobley make 4 threes, and I'm like, where the hell did you learn how to do that? Come from? Or you see Chris Duarte dunk on people, and just Omayori just get these like make these ridiculously athletic plays. You see Warith Alatishe shine. You see Ethan Thompson finally be the scorer that you thought he could be. You see Jared Lucas light someone else up for a change. Like, thank God, he can drain ridiculous threes on someone else. Like, it's fun to watch it happen because you just know these players so well, and you know them better than the players on the teams that they're playing. And so you're just like, this is fun. Like, I know these teams. They're not my teams, but my school has some skin in the game here. So keep on winning. Let's go for it. Let's get Bill Walton. The closest thing we can get to Bill Walton's five Pac-12 team Final Four. That would be great.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know if any of them have what it takes to win the championship. But
USC would be the closest, I think, just because of Mobley mostly.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, and and so much of it has to do with path and things like that. So right now,
very difficult path.
Yes, right now USC or Oregon is on path to have to play Gonzaga. So we'll see. But Gonzaga's got to deal with Creighton. So we'll see. I don't know, but it's fun, man. It's like I'll tell you what. Like I thought the Pac-12 was underrated, but I would be lying if I said I thought this was coming.
No.
And then not only that. The team I trusted the most was Colorado.
Yeah.
That was the team I really trusted. I'm like, yeah, man, they got this, senior laden team. They are deep. They bring guys off the bench that would start for most of the other teams in the conference. Senior point guard, like senior forward with Batty. Like, you're just going, yeah, like they got it all. And I really kind of overlooked, I think, their inconsistency at times in the season. And
especially
then,
away from Boulder.
Yeah. And they played Florida State, and Florida State just made them look like children. Like, it was, they basically quit in that game. And I don't know. And I don't know. Nobody has really kind of talked about this, but obviously there was a mass shooting in Boulder the day that they played that game. So, I don't know if that played into it or not. I'm hesitant to draw too many conclusions, but I would not be surprised if that, if they had sort of spent their day, just basically making sure everybody they knew was alive. And then, ended up playing this game because they just looked, man, there was a point there where they just were like, Tad Boyle got a tee, right? Yeah. And that was kind of it. He got that tee and just the whole thing fell apart from there.
It seemed like they could have made a run and then he got that tee and it was over. It's great.
They kind of stopped fighting too, which was hard to watch.
And the crazy thing is, Florida State's best player, a freshman, one and done lottery pick, Scotty Barnes, did almost nothing in that game. Yep. He took 2 shots. He had 6 points. And I've watched Florida State a few times this year, and he is a great player. But he didn't have to do much, and they just bullied them, and that's usually what Colorado does to other teams.
That's the key word, man.
Yeah.
That's what Florida. Nobody bullies people better than Florida State.
Yep.
Leonard Hamilton every year puts together a team that is like a 4 seed, a 5 seed, a 3 seed, somewhere in there. And, they are usually down there because their offense is kind of iffy but their defense is just they are long and athletic. And when we joke all the time about long and athletic. Florida State is always annually, year after year, like Leonard Hamilton's taking dudes who might not be able to shoot a basketball for the life of them, but man, they can, defend you like you would not believe. They can harass your shots. They can trap you. They can press you. I mean, they can do all kinds of stuff and to just make your life miserable. And Colorado wilted. Florida State bullies people. And if you can't handle that, then you're toast. And I really thought Colorado would be, of any team, could be the one to handle that. I mean, again, McKinley Wright, senior point guard, he's not going to be bullied. Come on. But he is 6 feet tall.
Yep.
And that was a major problem. They were seeing ghosts by the end of that game, man. They were looking around like McKinley Wright, looking around, wondering where the next guy, the next, 6'8" dude with the 7'4" wingspan is coming from. They were a mess. They were a total mess. So,
yeah, they turned the ball over 19 times, 29% of possessions. This is a team that was in the top 80, just one of the better teams in the Pac-12 at avoiding turnovers. And then one of the tragic things is, and Oral Roberts has his mantle now, but Colorado was on track to set the all-time record for free throw percentage in a season. But they went 7 of 11. And they dropped below Harvard from 1982 or 4 or something like that. But apparently Oral Roberts can still do it as well. So if you want to see someone break a record this season, just root for Oral Roberts to make as many free throws as they can, as they probably lose this time.
Probably. But you never know.
You never know. UCLA. I actually thought that beatdown of Abilene Christian is more impressive than people probably think, because Abilene Christian has, and as Texas found out, has a very good defense. It's so funny. They are now 85th and WSU is 84th, and it is that Spider-Man meme pointing at each other, because Washington State is 172 in offense, adjusted offensive efficiency, and 26th in adjusted defensive efficiency. Abilene Christian is 188th in adjusted offensive efficiency and 25th in adjusted defensive efficiency. They're just like 2 peas in the pod, both just teams that can't score and just defend their asses off. They do it differently. Abilene Christian forces turnovers like crazy. And it kind of shows you that forcing turnovers can translate to playing better teams, as long as they are turnover prone. UCLA they're not big on the front line, but they're big everywhere else.
Yep.
And that was very obvious. Jaime Jaquez was dominating the offensive glass against Abilene Christian, because Abilene Christian does have one big guy, Colton Cole, but he doesn't play a ton. He plays half the game. And when he was out, UCLA's like army of wings was just attacking the offensive glass, and they were getting out and running and just kind of obliterating that like very good defense. And then UCLA, it just what Mick Cronin has done to get those guys to play defense is just very impressive. And
Yep.
it's games like this where it truly shows, like where they very clearly have the athletic advantage, and they work their asses off, and they totally shut down Abilene Christian in a way that Texas could not. And it was pretty impressiff. Abilene Christian,
They're a better coach team, man.
Yeah, they're
a better coach team than Texas.
Yep.
So
Mick Cronin, he's a good coach. They've got a tough one coming up. They got Alabama.
Good luck with Alabama.
Another very good coach, Nate Oates, which, as I said on Twitter, gotta love Nate Oates, because if he didn't leave Buffalo, Noah Williams would not be in Pullman. And we are very happy that Noah Williams is in Pullman. Very glad you went to Alabama, Nate. Good choice. Yeah. Obviously a good choice. You have a very good team. I just, for funsies, put them in the national championship game.
Me too.
Just because, I couldn't put Gonzaga there.
Me too. Samesies. I swear to God, we did not talk about this beforehand.
I didn't even know you did that too.
I know. This is the first I've heard of this, and I've got Alabama in the championship with Baylor. Because I'm like...
I have it with Houston. Because I'm like, go Kelvin Sampson. Come on.
Hell
man.
yeah. I got Houston in the Final Four too, man. What is up?
Oh man. I mean, I don't care about my bracket that much, but I do want to see Kelvin Sampson do good, and that their second round game was Rutgers had them on the ropes, and I cannot believe that they pulled that out. That was impressive.
I know. Yeah, Rutgers really had to Rutgers that thing in order for that to happen, but yeah, it's exciting, man. My only regret with my bracket is that I did pick Loyola Chicago to beat Illinois.
Oh, nice.
But I did not.
I wanted to, and I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, but I did not pick Loyola Chicago to beat their next round opponent. I'm like, why didn't I have the balls to do that? Like, what was that all about?
Yeah, which is now
Oregon
I picked
them
State.
to beat the 1 seed, and and the team that I had them playing was Oklahoma State. Because I mean, I'm sure nobody. I was like, Oregon State's a 12. They're not a 12. I'm like, they're like a 13. Maybe a 14.
I think I might have had Oklahoma State beat Illinois just because of Cade Cunningham.
And I definitely bought into the same thing. I definitely bought into Cade Cunningham. Definitely was like, Oklahoma State will be there. And then obviously, they played like garbage. Basically, it was Cade Cunningham and nobody else.
And Loyola, man, dude, I have not got to see them. Good. I love what they do with Cameron Krutwig. It's so fun to watch. The way they run that same set with him at the top over and over again.
High post, like these double, I don't even know what you call them, but like two guys curling around him in the high post.
He does this two-handed dribble handoff thing that I thought was he just occasionally did it, but then I saw Jordan Sperber, Hoop Vision. He shared a video of them, and he uses that little double he's such a crazy player. He's such a unique player. I thought with when they were playing Illinois against Illinois' big Coburn.
Yeah, Coburn.
It was to me it was like Shaq versus Arvydas Sabonis in the late 90s. Like Whiteman Shaq went to LA.
That's a good way to put it.
Because it was just Arvydas was just this finesse player. Not that Krutwig, he's not super finesse. When he gets in the post, he kind of he lowers his shoulder,
but he's pretty finesse.
Yeah,
man.
He's pretty finesse. He doesn't shoot anything outside of 10 feet. It seems he does not want to do that because they just play off of him. But I mean, you talk about this player, dude. He's actually third in Ken Palm Player of the Year. He's a 6'9". He seems bigger, honestly. He seems taller.
He does look bigger than that. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's 26 assist rate, which would be good for a point guard. Great rebounding numbers, both ends of the floor. Block shots, steals the ball. hasn't taken a 3-pointer the entire year, but makes 58% of his 2-pointers. Just an incredibly unique and fun to watch player, and he looks like a 50-year-old man because he had to grow that mustache, and he's got the receding hairline. So
it's fantastic.
But now he's got now they got to face Oregon State. That'll be they're just Loyola's defense is absurd. Like they just work their asses off. That was another thing I noticed with Abilene too. Is like you notice when these teams just work their asses off on defense, and especially when it's these mid-major teams that don't have the athletes maybe of the team they're playing, and they just work their butts off. And it'll be interesting. The funny thing is Loyola is currently 9th in the KenPom rankings, but they're an 8 seed in the tournament. So congrats, Oregon State. You get to play an 8 seed.
Yeah.
But
luck.
they're more like a 2 seed. So
yeah. Good luck. You mentioned Jordan Sperber. He also did a really cool video, Hoop Vision video. So like if you're on YouTube, search for Hoop Vision. He does these just like crazy cool breakdowns of strategy and basically things from a coaching and a little bit analytics perspective, looking at teams. And so what Craig was referencing was he kind of spliced together a whole bunch of possessions of them doing this, this one action and all the different ways that they varied that action. He's got a really good video. I think it's about a 10-minute video on Porter Moser's defense and what makes it so good and why it's so strong. So that's definitely worth watching. I subscribe to his paid service as he does all his cool breakdown stuff. And then the other thing about them is I just kept thinking, this is what I hope we are in a couple of years.
Yeah.
It just stylistically, I think that we'll shoot more threes than Loyola Chicago does.
That slow tempo wise.
Yeah, we won't be that slow tempo wise. We'll shoot more threes, but
definitely.
Like the other, like just sort of stylistic things that I look at, defensively, they just take away so much of what you want to do, and they just make you uncomfortable all the time. And I'm like, when Kyle Smith's defense is like doing what it's supposed to do, and this year was on the right track, but not quite there, and still 26th overall in defensive efficiency, right?
26th. Higher than Tony Bennett, by the way.
Yeah. They moved all the way up to 26. So, when they are really, really running right, I could see them sort of blending the defense from the last 2 years, which is, the 2-point defense of this year with the ball pressure turnover defense of the year before. And that's really basically what Loyola Chicago does. They sort of up in your face. They make you very uncomfortable. They take away the shots that you want. And so they're very, very difficult, and then just very smart on offense. They don't, turn it over much. They take smart shots. They just sort of, they're just real savvy. And that's the kind of team I think that we are, maybe destined to be under Kyle Smith, provided, he sticks around and the players stick around and all that good stuff. So yeah, I don't know, man. If you haven't watched Loyola Chicago yet, make sure to watch them in this game against Oregon State, because they're probably going to win. So you're probably going to get to see them a couple times if you want. And just, you'll see why the analytics have loved them to death. All this, their move up to, what would you say? They're 9th now, right?
Yeah.
They were, I think, 10th heading into the tournament. So
9th, actually.
This is not,
they
were 9th heading into the tournament.
They went up to 7 at one point. But then I think USC
that's
passed
probably
them or whatever.
So they have beaten. They beat Georgia Tech pretty good. They beat Illinois pretty good, and they haven't moved because they were already freaking good.
Yeah.
So
these aren't above and beyond.
It's pretty clear. No, it's exactly. You wouldn't have expected them to beat Illinois, but Illinois and them was a coin flip. I think Illinois was ranked number 4 in KenPom heading into the tournament.
Yep.
And that's basically a coin flip.
You wouldn't expect them to beat them like they did, which that was an impressive win because they got out to a double-digit lead early, and Illinois I don't think ever got closer than like 8 or 9, like the whole game. Illinois never went on a run because they just were shutting them down defensively. And that's the dream, is just never letting teams go on runs.
And their defense is so good that they can do that.
And so you mentioned they force teams into tough shots. They take quality shots. I don't know if you were looking at the same numbers I have. So on another site that Jeff and I have now, are starting to nerd out on is shotquality.com. This is a site that WSU definitely subscribes to, the program. They have a quote from Kyle Smith right on the front page. So if you want to
a giveaway,
if you want to be in tune with what our coaches look at, another site is shotquality.com. So I just looked up Loyola, and on his numbers, they were out of 100, they were 95 on adjusted offensive shot quality, and then 100 so 100 out of 100 on defensive shot quality. So
so those are percentiles, right?
Percentiles.
They are.
So they're sixth overall. So he rates. So yeah, it's percentile, but it's not percentile relative to everyone else. It's basically every shot gets a score, and then they adjust it based on the defense you're playing and stuff.
Right.
So they're in offensive rank. I'm trying to sort. Maybe I can't because I'm not a subscriber. Offensive rank, they're definitely high. I don't see a lot of teams over 95. And then they're obviously the best in defense. Like they're the best. Like not even like they're 100, and then Baylor is 99. Baylor's 99 on both sides. Gonzaga's 93. There's no one else that's even close. So they do exactly like you said. Like even the metrics bear it out. They take good shots and they force teams into tough shots. Like, and that's the dream, right? That's
yep.
And smart coaches think of it in that way, right?
Yep. And that's we have a smart coach, so I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. So, any other since we're nerding out on the tournament, any other things jump out at you?
Yeah, no big thoughts about the tournament.
Other than Pac-12 dominance, baby.
Pac-12 dominance, Pac-12 dollars.
Cha-ching.
Yeah.
And I love that we are, because, okay, just aesthetically, Dick Bennett's first year, he took WSU from, let me get it, 208 to 126.
Yep.
And then his third year, when they had like Kaladi as a senior, Jeff Ferrum, who he had recruited as a senior, they went up to 79. And so now Kyle Smith in his first 2 years took him from 206 to 126, and from 126 to 84. That could change, but they're going to be probably top 90. They're probably going to be top 90. They're probably going to be top 30 in defense. We were hoping that Kyle Smith is going to improve the defense. He has done that. Like, I think maybe if we had a full roster this year, there could have been more achievements, that maybe not a tournament, but maybe an NIT or something like that. Right now, the NIT might be thinking we probably should have invited them, or maybe they probably should have invited Arizona State or some other like Pac-12 schools, or maybe Utah or someone. It's fun to look at those parallels. Obviously, Dick had the best defense by adjusted efficiency on KenPom in the country his second year, which is bonkers. Yep. If you totally just look bonkers at that roster, you're like, what? Like with Jeff Ferrum and Robbie Cowgill manning the inside. They had Chris Schlatter playing 56% of the minutes. They had the best defense in the country. That is bonkers. And I'm not talking about by points per game because they played really slow. I'm talking about by adjusted efficiency, adjusted for their opponents. It's insane. Like but at the same time, like, because at least like with Kyle, like, and actually the thing that makes it more exciting with Kyle is because they got better on defense a lot because of the players he brought in. And he brings in good players, and that's kind of a more fun way to be good, is to have good players. And it's not a way that we envisioned in Pullman, but it's what is coming true. We got better at defense because we brought in F.A. Abogidi and Deshaun Jackson. Like, that is why. That is why we got better at defense. And that is fun. And guess what? They're both freshmen, and we have F.A. probably for at least one more year. So, yeah. And number 26, I keep hoping somehow we pop into that top 25. Maybe we will. I don't know. Because, again, monkey brains, we like those round numbers.
Yeah. If, USC wins a couple more games, if, somehow UCLA does something against Alabama,
Yeah,
we
just need their offenses to do really well.
Yes.
So that makes our defense look better by comparison.
Correct. So, yeah. So that's the tournament. Other WSU stuff.
So I have something that I didn't mention at the start, but I have to admit, I have to talk about. So if you subscribe to this Coug calendar that Dan Barbadero is doing, former kind of interim president in between Elson and Kirk Schultz, and he's been high up at WSU for a while. I think I said his name wrong. Bernardo. Bernardo. Dan Bernardo. Sorry, Dan. I know you read Coug Center. Now I'm mad at myself. I don't know why I thought Barbadero, but he sends out these daily emails with just like fun facts. And so what he sent out last night was that Jen Greeny, she was one of the top 50 recruits in the country for volleyball, but she also was at the time the all-time leading scorer in Washington State basketball history, over 2,800 points when she in her high school career for boys and girls. So I had last night when I saw that pop up in my email, I tagged Jen on Twitter. I was like, "Hey, Jen, I basically said like, why, save some talent for the rest of us. I didn't know you were a hooper too." And she responded that, she was pretty good. She still has a jump hook that she makes her 11-year-olds mad with. Then she followed up with me, and I made sure that it was okay that I shared this. But she sent me. She was actually recruited by Tara Vanderveer. So she was recruited by Tara Vanderveer at Stanford. She sent me the proof, by the way. So to play basketball, of course. So she was that good. She had schools looking at her for basketball. Apparently it was a really big deal that she chose volleyball, at WSU. She was a high school All-American, in basketball as well. So, Jen Greeny, absolutely incredibly talented person, and still this massive chip on her shoulder, and is just a hard worker and the perfect, and obviously a Coug, and like the perfect person to coach a Coug program. And now, of course, she was an amazing volleyball player at WSU. Helped them go to tournaments, and is now, one of our greatest coaches of all time, and is taking, has our volleyball program on the brink of potentially winning a Pac-12 championship too. So, Jen Greeny, what a badass! Just want to mention that, all of that for her, because that was fun, man.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Davenport High School, Jen Greeny.
Yeah. What a girl.
Yeah. The more you know, and like the.
That's right.
So thanks, Dan. Someone's gonna get pissed at me for mispronouncing his name.
Sorry.
But
so volleyball's not playing. That'd be cool if they were playing games, but.
Yeah, that was a real bummer. They couldn't play that series against UW because of COVID. Now the Utah, at least the first match this weekend, is canceled. If I still think if they win their last 3 matches, then they'll be regular season Pac-12 champs by percentage, which would be cool. Asterisks or whatever, but I don't know. There are no asterisks to me for Cougar athletic achievements. Like,
nope. Win the conference, we are owning that shit.
UW is still claiming that Pac-12 North championship in football when they played all their games at home and didn't have to play Oregon.
That's right. I will definitely buy the T-shirt.
So UW is at 13-3. Washington State's at 10-2. So if Washington State finished at 13-2, it depends on how many games that UW won. If they won all their games, it just depends on the percentage. But if they win out, they have a good shot of actually being the regular season or the Pac-12 champions. There's no tournament, just regular season. But it seems pretty likely that they'll also be in the NCAA tournament as well. So, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
And as we've said before, they're almost all sophomores and one freshman, which is pretty sick. Volleyball, soccer had a rough weekend, man.
The worst way I've ever seen a team lose a game, man.
I mean, absolutely stunner of a goal to tie the match late, and you're like, okay. McNamara Stevens makes this incredible run down the left.
Can't even really describe it.
And then just loops it over the goalie for the tying goal after UW had scored in the, I think, 6th or 7th minute. And then it was just, I think McNamara scored in the 76th or something. So it was a long wait. And of course, like, WSU hadn't lost to UW for 16 years before losing to them last year, or in 2019, right before their big run. Yep. And so, coming down, it looks like they're going to get to overtime, extra time, which is, they call it sudden victory. But
it's definitely overtime because they're going to, first goal wins.
Yeah. So they, it basically became sudden victory right before 14 seconds to go. UW basically a Hail Mary at the goal.
It was struck pretty well.
Yeah, it was struck well, but from far, it went far out. Like, it was not.
But it definitely should have been easily handled. And it was not.
It was
easily
a
handled.
Wet field, wet ball. We'll give the keeper that credit.
I'm glad you will.
She just kind of she misplayed it. She got cross-footed.
I think she just got fooled.
She got fooled. Yeah, probably a knuckler.
Ball had a little bend on it. She didn't really realize it had a little bend on it. And instead of doing what she should have done, which is just punch it off to the side and just
she tried to grab it.
She tried to catch it, and she'd been catching balls all night. So she tried to catch it. Her body wasn't in front of it. And the ball just,
slowly
off her fingertips and into the goal.
It's just those brutal ones where it's just like slowly rolls across the line.
Yep.
Like doesn't even get to the back of the net. You're like,
yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
With 14 seconds to play.
Yep. I felt horrible for her, man. Goalies, keepers are already like, you already got to be a little bit of a weirdo to want to be a keeper. Like that's just kind of a pretty well-established fact in soccer. The weirdos are the ones who want to be keepers. And so, for her to, be in a spot where, you want to be a keeper and then, and then, stuff like that happens when you're a keeper and, you just hope the howlers don't happen 14 seconds before the end of the game. And
you can't recover. There was just no possible way.
Yep. And it also, if I remember right, wasn't our regular keeper, right? It was a backup, yes? No?
I don't know.
Am I incorrect about that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, inexperienced keeper, I know that. So, whatever.
Oh, by the way, Ella Dedrick, our longtime very good keeper, Ella Dedrick, she made the OL Reign. So she is on the Reign. Woo! I can't wait to go to a Reign match, wear all my Coug stuff. Yeah, and also I have my LFG Let's Fucking Go sweatshirt for Ali Long, because it's her company with Alex Morgan that made that, and I love Ali Long. I don't know if we're at a place in society like I know like when women watch the men's sports, they can pick favorites based on their looks. I 100%. Ali is very good, but she is also. I have a huge crush on her. I won't even deny it. And yeah, but anyways, so I wear that for her, but I definitely wear my Coug hat. I can't wait till Morgan Weaver comes in, and I can root both for her and against her as a Portland Thorn. But anyways, we have a keeper on OL Reign. We also picked up a transfer from West Virginia. Pretty solid looking attacking player.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah. Again, this is the program that Schulenberger et al. Have built to the point where players will transfer from West Virginia to Pullman because they know they can win. And that's why it sucks to lose UW, because we kind of had them in their place for a while, and frustrating. We actually get them again this year. That was a non-conference game.
Yes, important to note.
Yeah, that was
so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, it doesn't count. Suck at UW. So we actually we host UW in the actual conference game to end the regular season, and lots of soccer in front of us to rack up some wins, get to the postseason again, and they seem they look pretty solid to me. The first time we got to watch them, honestly, they maybe don't have they have good attacking players. Obviously, they don't have that burner like Weaver and that you would have hoped Rodman would have been to just torch the defense. But they do have good attackers, but maybe not the one that would just outrun someone like Weaver often did to UW and all that. But yeah, they're solid midfield, solid defense. They probably can stack up against almost anyone in the league, and hopefully that turns into lots of good results, and hopefully we can talk about postseason soccer again, because soccer's fun. And we've moved out to lower field again, so hopefully we can actually watch the team more, because when they were in the bubble, you can't really set up a camera to watch in there. So
baseball's killing people with their offense. They had their opening Pac-12, took 1 out of 3 from Oregon State, which is not as good as 2 out of 3, but certainly better than 0 out of 3.
It was in Corvallis as well, we should note.
Oregon State obviously has been the big boy in the conference for a while, so winning a game down there is no small feat. So that's cool.
Lost the rubber match on a home run. It was tied in a home run. So yeah, they're definitely they shut them down on Friday, and then what really stands out, they're scoring runs, and we haven't seen
they rake, dude.
Yeah,
they rake.
We haven't seen a team at WSU rake like this in a while. They split with UNLV in the midweek, scored a bunch of runs, gave up way too many today. They were actually down 9-1 and came back and made it 9-8, and then lost. I think it was like 14-9 or something. It was like they're going to be that team, They're gonna score a bunch. They might give up a bunch. They're probably going to win more. Honestly, with what they've done so far, it's not out of the realm to think that they could be a postseason team. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about. So
yeah.
Obviously, in such a short time, Brian Green doing some big work. Kyle Manzardo, that's the guy. That's the name to know.
You know what's funny is
he's got the mustache.
And
hard to miss.
Incredibly long on base streak now. It's like 44 games or something like that. Funny thing about him is I always doubt myself about how to spell his name because it's Manzardo, but his Twitter account is just Muzzardo.
Yes.
There's no N.
I noticed that today, and I was like, did the baseball team tag the wrong guy?
I don't.
And then, like,
you click on it.
I clicked, and I was like, no, actually, okay, that's him. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit like, who was it? Oh, Bennett, Michael Bennett from the Seahawks, and his Twitter handle's Moses Bread, and he meant to do Moses Beard. But he typed it in wrong when he made his Twitter handle the first time, so it's Moses Bread, and he just left it.
Yeah, maybe Kyle misspelled his own name, and then he's like, "Screw it, I'm with it."
Yeah,
or maybe so many people have like said his name and misspelled his name wrong that he just thought it'd be funny to do it that way.
Entirely possible. But anyway, that's the guy, man. Watch him, and he destroys baseballs, and he's a lot of fun. So, yeah, they're a lot more fun than right now than they were for years and years and years under Donnie. And you know, they don't bunt in the first inning anymore, which is great. So, yeah,
because why bunt when you can just mash, when you can hit doubles and homers?
That is the right way to approach baseball, man.
Yeah,
chicks dig the long ball, Craig.
Yes.
That's what I've heard.
I heard it in the 90s, I think.
Yes.
When I was a youth, so it's been ingrained in me.
You were like, I was 8 years old when that commercial came out.
Yeah, pretty sure I was. Yeah.
And I'm like, I had a Chicks Dig the Long Ball shirt from Nike back in whatever year that was. Anyway. All right. Well, should we wrap this sucker up?
Yeah, let's cut it. Let's get under 2 hours. Oh, just barely though. Damn it. How did we get to this? All right. Well, podcast vseveryone@gmail.com if you want to send us questions or comments or whatever. Give us 5-star ratings wherever you can rate. I know you can on iTunes, so give it. Even if you don't listen to us on iTunes, feel free to go on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and then leave a comment. Because that's kind of where a lot of people get their podcasts, and
yes.
and the rating systems aren't as don't matter as much in some of the other ones. But go ahead and give us that 5-star rating. Leave a review, a nice review or a mean review. I don't even care what you leave in the review, as long as it's a 5-star rating. And then, what else, Jeff? At the Craig Powers on Twitter is me. You can follow Jeff at Pod VS Everyone. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Go Cougs, Jeff.
Like it. Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.